boys. How are you?
Good. Welcome back.
Good.
Scary topic today, man.
A little bit,
well,
yeah.
We're scaring everyone in the last few weeks, aren't we? We did climate change, net zero. We're doing glyphosate today.
Yeah, well, this sort of falls in line with the whole climate change thing. And I guess after the climate change one, we sort of agreed to do a few topics related to it, didn't we? And this is one of the first ones, glyphosate.
And I think the next couple, sorry to jump in, just to remain a little bit positive, because you've come this morning quite positive, Smithy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Pumped up. The next few maybe are solutions or ways forward that we're going to do in this little series of sort of 4 or 5 on climate.
Yeah, or pollution.
Yeah, so just a few different solutions, or it's not all doom and gloom. There are people looking into it, and So anyway,
I think today's episode is actually incredibly positive and empowering, depending on how you look at it, because we're going to talk about glyphosate today, and it's obviously got some very negative health consequences, which I think.
So explain that out. Let's explain that out first.
Okay, well let's go right back. What is glyphosate? So glyphosate is a weed killer, which most people commonly know as Roundup.
Yep.
Buy it at any Bunnings hardware store, online. I don't even know. Can you buy it at the supermarket? Probably a supermarket.
You can buy it.
Yeah.
And it's claimed to fame, because it's been around for quite a long time. It's claimed to fame. I remember when I was a kid, was so safe you could drink it.
Yep.
You could basically drink a glass of glyphosate, and due to the fact that we're humans and it can't affect us, it will have absolutely no impact.
So glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup. So there are weed killers now that are really great that don't have that in it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And when you go to Bunnings or whatever you go to buy it, if you look on the label, it will say active ingredient glyphosate.
Yep.
Yeah.
And not the problem, but one of the interesting things is glyphosate, like all other chemical compounds for quite a while, was protected by copyright. What do they call it? Like on label or whatever.
Patent,
so patented. Yep. So the patent has run out. So every company now with the ability to produce glyphosate can now produce it. So consequently, the prices have become even cheaper. Most of the world's glyphosate now comes out of China, and it is an extremely cheap chemical to produce. And we are producing a lot of it, I think.
And from a farming perspective, and like affecting our food supply, it's used on crops sprayed on crops to allow the crop to be resistant to weed killer. So the farmer puts on the glyphosate and then puts on the weed killer.
Oh, well, glyphosate is a weed killer.
Yep, but it also protects the crop plant from being destroyed, doesn't it, from the weed killer? Is that how it works?
So I thought what it was is they engineer these GMO plants. So they genetically modify these plants so that this weed killer doesn't kill the plant, but it can kill everything else.
Right.
Maybe we're sort of saying the same thing, but in a different way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that it's designed to disrupt a plant or a weed's metabolic pathway, which is this shikimate pathway.
Yep.
It's spelled Shikimate, and it's the same pathway that occurs in human gut flora. So when glyphosate destroys a plant's shikimate pathway, it kills it. A lot of the argument against glyphosate being harmless to humans is this notion that the shikimate pathway does not exist in human beings.
It does not. Yep.
It doesn't, but it does in the flora of our gut. So basically, just like a glyphosate destroys flora on a farm or on land, it also, through the shikimate pathway, destroys the flora within our gut. And therein lies our problem.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it was designed as a antimicrobial at the start.
Yeah, that's what it was first licensed as, was an antibiotic antimicrobial.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think the myth or the rumor or whatever it is was the guy who developed it then worked out that it was no good for humans.
Correct.
Threw it out on his lawn or in his backyard, and it knocked out all his weeds. And then he went, "Oh, okay, I can repurpose this like they do with a lot of things."
Yeah.
And then used it for killing weeds.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they were using it as like an industrial pipe or drain cleaner for a while.
Right.
As well.
Yeah. But it was initially designed for humans to ingest.
For humans, yes.
Yeah.
I think it was like a failed
Yeah.
human drug,
Yeah.
I guess, or antibiotic or something
And
like
so
that.
is that when Monsanto bought it? Or did this
probably
person work for Monsanto? Was it
possibly? Yeah, I don't know that.
Monsanto sort of invented it, didn't they? Along with
I think it
Agent
was
Orange
invented by possibly a Japanese scientist. So you're probably across him with your Japanese studies, something like that. And
The guy brings in one Japanese study, but having said
I want to hear
that,
at least 3 today, or I'm going to be disappointed if we haven't got some Japanese studies.
I did have one for
Get on
the
it, mate.
podcast last week, and I didn't use it. And I was a bit disappointed.
Disappointing.
Anyway, yeah, 280 million pounds of glyphosate are used in US cropland.
That's in the US. Yeah, I heard for the world it was something like 5.5 billion pounds a year.
So
I read that it was
spraying this everywhere.
70% of crops worldwide
Yes.
use glyphosate.
Yeah.
More so Western farms as
Oh,
opposed to developing or indigenous farmland.
Well, the other thing they use it for as well, which you're probably going to touch on before, was they obviously use it for weed control with their crops. But what they also do is they use it to kill wheat and use it as a desiccant, so a drying agent.
Yeah, so they can
essentially
harvest the wheat early.
They can harvest
and
it earlier.
pour the Roundup or the glyphosate on it, and then
Correct.
it dries it out.
So
you
they
can
essentially
use it,
use it to kill the wheat. So they spray it on the wheat dies, and it rapidly dries out, and then that's what you need to do to harvest wheat, so then you can extract the grain, which we can then go on to make breads and flours and things like that.
Yeah,
Right.
Which
Well,
is-
that would explain why, because I was really interested in just learning what sort of foods in Australia were high in glyphosate. And there aren't a lot of studies about this, and there's not a lot of data to be obtained. But there was one source that I found that said Australian foods highest in glyphosate are all breads, biscuits and crackers, and rice bread, cereals, and flours, or derived from wheat.
Yes.
So what you're saying there is exactly
Yep.
that this glyphosate is just having a massive effect on wheat and therefore wheat products that we're consuming.
because it's possible to do. It's possible that this is the background of gluten intolerance.
Yeah.
It is maybe it's not gluten intolerance. Maybe it's glyphosate related. It's killing your gut microbiome
Spot
because
on,
we're
mate.
eating a lot of this. And I know cereals are high. They did a list of cereals, and I think Special K cereal was really high. in
Yeah.
glyphosate.
Wheat Bix is
Wheat
pretty high.
Bix was up there.
Pretty much
yeah,
anything
so-
with either grains or legumes in it is going to be quite high in glyphosate. So anything like your soy-based products, corn-based products, wheat-based products,
Yeah.
unless you're buying organic, which
Yes.
we'll obviously touch on a bit later, then they're
Yeah.
going to be very high in
Well-
glyphosate.
Actually, that was in my mind right then. I wanted to ask that question.
And before you go, just on that gluten thing, which is probably why a lot of people are experiencing that, it's the same as peanut allergies. Remember when we were kids, no kid had a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
But I also read that peanuts are one of the highest nuts that receive or get sprayed with glyphosate. So
Yeah.
That's
Well,
interesting
let's
because they're in a
delve into this
shell.
for a minute. I think this is a
I know
whole-
that's
shell
what I thought,
underground, yeah.
but they're
Must
they're
suck it in from the
underground,
soil or
and from the
something. Yeah.
soil it absorbs the glyphosate from the soil at really,
Yeah.
really high rates.
Yeah, well, that makes
so
sense. doesn't it?
unless you're getting organic peanut butter, your peanut butter is even going to be high in glyphosate.
Yeah.
I think we've delved into two really interesting areas here. So one of them is how the glyphosate gets into foods, and the other one is the argument about like the wheat and the grains and the level of allergies. And I think they both like bear talking about for a few minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
So glyphosate is a water-soluble molecule. So it's not fat-soluble, it's water-soluble. So what that means is when you spray it onto a crop or onto soil or into a waterway or into wherever, because it's water-soluble, it will spread and go everywhere. So if you spray it onto the surface of soil, then we get rain. All that rainwater that hits the ground is going to leach down into the soil. So all the glyphosate is going into the soil, right?
Yep.
Then when it gets hot, that level of moisture on the surface, which now has glyphosate in it, is going to heat up, and some of that is going to form steam, which is going to form condensation, which is going to go up and form clouds. That condensate that goes up that becomes cloud now contains glyphosate if glyphosate's been sprayed in that area. So it's water soluble. Those clouds can then travel and rain down the track somewhere. Now your rain has glyphosate in it. That rain eventually goes into rivers, streams, waterways. That glyphosate obviously wreaks havoc along the way because it's an antimicrobial, it's an antifungal as well, kills plant life, disrupts, microbial diversity, the microbiome of its hosts, et cetera, that then flows into the ocean. So now we've got this situation where glyphosate, essentially, because it's water soluble, is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's very likely that the rain we receive in Perth would have an amount of glyphosate in it.
Yeah.
The other problem is, because glyphosate is water soluble, you always hear people say, oh, if you don't buy organic and you're worried about glyphosate, wash your food. Well, it's water soluble. So if you're eating a tomato, a watermelon, a mushroom, whatever you're eating, it's not on the surface. It's actually contained inside the food you're eating.
Yep.
It's inside the water content of your food. So if you eat a tomato, you think about how watery that is, or a watermelon or a bit of lettuce or whatever. It's not a case where you can just take that bit of food and put it in the sink in some fresh water and wash it and all the glyphosate goes off. It's contained within the actual structure of that food.
Yeah.
So it's everywhere. It's insidious. We're spraying literally billions of pounds of this across the globe every year.
Yeah.
It's accumulating in all of our... So it's everywhere. We're spraying billions of pounds of this stuff across the world. It's accumulating in our soil, in our air, in our waterways, and it's...
If you have a look at, you drive down the street, old mate from the council is in his gear, he's pumping it onto the weeds, and the weeds are pretty much, they're growing out of sometimes the side of the road and the curbs, and these guys are just spraying it onto those weeds, and then it rains, it goes into our waterway, and maybe it kills those weeds. Yeah, okay, cool, but what are we doing?
And you look at the pack or the bottle of Roundup, and it's got "Do not spray within 24 hours of expected rain."
Yeah, it's going to run off.
Yeah, and so to that point, mate, of council spraying, I think this is just criminal. Like,
so do I.
They are spraying a toxic chemical in our neighbourhoods, in our streets, with the rain runoff that you just mentioned. You've got what do they call it when it's captured in the air? Spray drift. So they're spraying it around. The wind picks it up. It's sprayed to and that spray drift is a major reason why organic farms are being impacted by this. So we'll talk about organic, but organic foods and so on. But organic farmers are losing a lot of income and losing their organic certification, because if they're nearby a typical modern farm which uses glyphosate, that spray drift is coming over to their farms and then polluting their food. So their food is no longer organic.
Yeah.
As much as they try to provide some organic options for consumers, they're not, and they're losing money from it. They're losing income.
The one that the council worker spraying it on the weeds that are sticking out of the road blows my mind.
Yeah, who gives a shit about weeds?
Yep. Exactly. And the other thing is steam kills them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is as cheap. It's water. Boiling water kills them.
Mm-hmm.
So the other one is people buying Roundup from Bunnings to spray their driveway and their paths to get rid of the weeds. That just runs off into the waterway.
Yeah.
Kills the weed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it might take a little bit longer, but you boil 6 litres in your kettle, you come out, you pour that on your driveway, on your weeds, they're dead.
I know there is a council in Perth.
Sterling do it.
Using steam?
Yeah. Sometimes you see them on West Coast Highway doing that, but also you see them another kilometre down the road using glyphosate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd think with the cost of glyphosate and buying it in that sort of mass amount that they have to use, there must be some cost-effective way of having a steamer, like a water boiler on a truck, and they can just go along and steam kill weeds.
Plug in an urn. Use your 12 volt, You do it going camping.
Yeah,
bit of water. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there are solutions, and we're not looking at them, or we're not talking about them enough.
I just don't think there's much will. I don't think people really understand.
Or maybe they don't care, or they're like, good, weeds are gone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't remember there being a huge weed. I wasn't alive, but looking at photos, movies, etc. Back in the 50s when this didn't exist, I don't remember there being a huge weed problem in the world.
And you know what? Weeds come in winter and then they die in summer. They die when it's dry.
Yeah.
It's who cares about weeds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Let's have a look at. I was interested in two impacts of glyphosate one on the human body, and two on our environment, particularly soil. So I was interested to know, and there's a few effects of it on humans. So obviously we've mentioned it damages our gut bacteria and our microbiome. And I think we've mentioned this in previous podcasts. It depletes glutathione. And glutathione is our master antioxidant. And so if someone's got low glutathione, they are pretty much increased sickness. That's pretty much the formula. And I don't really know much about supplementation with glutathione, but it's something that I'm going to look into, because if glyphosate is such a predominant chemical in there and we're consuming it, then I'd like to have some sort of supplementation to counteract its effects.
Maybe we can loop back to that at the end, and as a closing statement, we can talk a bit about subs, because I'm quite interested in that area.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, maybe talk about the human health.
Yep. Depletes levels of sulfur. Really low levels of sulfur have been identified in autistic children. And there's a very, very strong link, and this will be debated with some people, but there is a strong link amongst scientists, particularly Dr. Stephanie Seneff, which I listened to a lot during this. And if anyone would like to have a listen to her and learn a bit more about the effects of glyphosate, and in particular with autism, Dr. Stephanie Seneff, she's a senior research scientist at MIT.
She's really good.
Oh, man. And as many other qualifications, she's got a bachor's degree in biology, in food and nutritional science. Also, Dr. Zach Bush, he's a specialist in internal medicine and endocrinology. So 2 good resources to have a listen to. But anyway, going back to the levels of sulfur, depletes your process of methylation, which is something that I wasn't quite aware of, and that's an essential process for the development of genes, pretty much. So
pretty much switching on and off of genes.
Yep. And when it's deregulated, contributes to diseases such as cancer. So
big time.
When I was looking at impacts on the body, cancer is a big one. You know, everyone thinks that glyphosate causes cancer, and a lot of the pro-glyphosate lobbyists or parties will say that it does not cause cancer.
Well, the WHO, who isn't really a friend of this show, but a lot of people do put a lot of credibility into their statements, have listed it as a probable human carcinogen.
Probable, yeah.
Probable. And there's been a hell of a lot of very high-profile legal class actions and lawsuits over in America, where people have had extremely high payouts, people who've been like groundskeepers and gardeners, and people who've had a high level of exposure to this. And they've proven in a court of law that the cause of certain types of cancers has been exposure to glyphosate, and they've won very large payouts.
Which is different to a lot of other chemicals, like forever chemicals,
Correct.
PFAS, PFOA.
Yep.
You know, there's a vast array of different things you can get, and then
Yes.
the people that have made that have kind of said, oh, well, it's not causing a certain type of cancer, but it's an immunosuppressant.
Yes.
Whereas with glyphosate, there's actually proven
There's
cases
pretty
of
strong evidence now that
kidney.
certainly it's detrimental. Exactly, kidney tubules.
Yeah,
are
so
quite damaged.
it's kind of linked to these now, and these lawsuits are proving.
Yeah.
And people are getting payouts.
Well, the burden of proof in a court is reasonably high.
Oh,
I mean, you're not just coming in and going, yeah, it's Marbo, it's the vibe.
Yeah.
You know, I just reckon it's bad. They're going on some reasonably hardcore science, and the science is increasing every day.
I found it interesting that in a roundabout way, you can learn that it contributes to cancer by the study of this process, methylation. It's not until I looked at that process that I made the link to cancer. Because then every other superficial resource I look at, so for example, I had a look at farmers.org.au, croplife.org.au. So these are Australian websites, and they come up with these really, really primary school looking diagrams to promote the safety of glyphosate. So they've even listed here Australia's independent regulatory body, the Australian Pesticides and Veterinary Medicines Authority, examined glyphosate in 2016 and found out the products containing glyphosate are safe to use. In fact, all independent science-based regulatory bodies or agencies around the world, including the WHO, the European Union, New Zealand, America and Canada, determine glyphosate as safe.
Well, there you go. You look at those names there.
Yeah, they're
Bill and
big
Melinda
ones
Gates Foundation.
that rely on
We
it.
could talk about that.
As this in 2015, the International Agency for Research of Cancer assessed glyphosate to pose the same risk as eating red meat, drinking hot beverages, frying food at high temperatures, and working as a hairdresser. Can you believe this shit?
Can't believe they didn't pop climate change into that list.
Yeah.
Man, it poses less risk than, according to them, drinking alcohol, sunlight, eating bacon and all processed meats, and sawdust. Okay, interesting. More, it says here, U.S. Agricultural Health Study said more than 89,000 farmers and their spouses said no association between glyphosate and cancer. So we're going to take the word of 89,000 farmers and their spouses.
Did they also have research science backgrounds, or is that just the vibe?
No, just the
Hang on,
vibe,
hang on.
man.
Just the vibe, yeah.
89,000 farmers that had cancer said it wasn't related to glyphosate.
No, it
Or
was
they
just
just
89,000 farmers. Yep.
Because that's a lot of farmers to get cancer,
Yeah.
I would have thought.
And they are farmers in Iowa and North Carolina since 1993 conclude there is no association between glyphosate and cancer, including non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Well, that's one of the big ones, one of the big types of cancer that glyphosate seems to cause. Have you guys heard of this cancer alley in the US?
No.
They call it cancer alley. If you look on a map in the US and you look at the spread of, the amount of cancer per capita, there's this thing they call cancer alley, and it's essentially like if you look at it on a map and cancer is red, and you see a giant red sort of alley going down America, and it sort of loosely follows the Mississippi River, and so the Mississippi River is surrounded by a lot of farmland, and all those farmlands all use glyphosate, and that glyphosate all runs into the Mississippi River, and essentially eventually goes out into the Gulf of Mexico, right? So they've looked at basically the association between the amount of glyphosate in the immediate environment and mapped that over the top of this cancer alley, and it maps almost perfectly in terms of level of glyphosate in the environment versus background level of cancer that people are getting, and it's extremely correlated. I mean, let's talk about what else glyphosate does. So have you guys seen or read about the impact of glyphosate on your tight junctions?
Well, that's in your gut, and that's what you were talking about before, Rooster, it damages your... The tight junctions are like little... It's like Velcro. I think they're the size of a tennis court, aren't they? Through your gut.
So you got about
the
size of about 2 tennis courts in the average body.
Two.
And it's your endothelial lining. It goes basically from your lips all the way through your digestive tract, down to your excretory organs. And what these do is they form a barrier so that when we're ingesting food or we're ingesting anything, that food is not going to go directly into our bloodstream. It's going to be selectively absorbed and transported by various mechanisms so that we can extract all our nutrients, vitamins, carbohydrates, whatever, so that the body can deal with them. But everything doesn't just go across into our bloodstream like a free-for-all. So I've seen some amazing actual video footage through, I guess it's an electron microscope or a very powerful microscope, and they actually look at these tight junctions. So the tight junction is you've got these very thin cell walls, so you've got cells, and then like CJ said, you've got this tight junction which is like Velcro in between the cell walls, and it keeps the integrity of that epithelial layer so that there's not gaps in it, right? So we're not leaking the contents of our stomach and our digestive tract into our bloodstream. We don't want to do that. That's bad.
That's what causes a lot of autoimmune conditions.
Exactly.
Because those tight junctions need to hold everything in, keep it in together, and if there's undigested food particles that get through there, it can, and the body says, okay, that's not supposed to be there, and sort of attacks it.
Yeah, it causes a massive inflammatory response.
Yeah,
the body sees
the body thinks
it as a pathogenic
leaky
invader.
gut. Yep. So your body's thinking that's not right. I'm going to attack it, whether it's good for you or bad for you. It's in the wrong spot, so the body's attacking it. These tight junctions kind of keep everything in there.
Yeah, but if you look at those tight junctions, or if you look at this epithelial layer that includes tight junctions, and you watch it under a microscopic conditions, and then you apply glyphosate to that, you can see the tight junctions break down.
Oh, wow.
You can see the gaps appear in your endothelial lining. So looping back way earlier to what you were talking about, Roo, with like wheat and peanut allergies and things like that, things that we didn't really see as kids in primary school. I don't remember any kid that couldn't eat nuts or maybe a very occasional one. At my daughter's school now, every second kid can't have wheat, dairy, peanuts, shellfish, whatever. Well, if you look at some of the highest sprayed crops, so you look at wheat. We spoke about wheat is used, glyphosate is used on wheat as a desiccant, so it dries it out, and then we immediately process it. We get the grain out of the wheat, becomes bread, and we eat the bread. So those proteins contained in that wheat grain that we eat are coated in glyphosate. So you're going to ingest that bread. The bread's got all this glyphosate on it. We know that glyphosate destroys those tight junctions. So now we've got these large proteins contained in this wheat going through into your bloodstream when it's not supposed to. And your body's immune system, and there's a very large amount of your immune system is around your endothelial lining for good reason to stop attack
Keep
from
the bad things out.
pathogens.
Yep.
Well, your immune system marks that as an invader because it's somewhere where it's not supposed to be. So all these wheat proteins have leaked into your bloodstream when they're not supposed to. Your body hasn't used like active transporters or passive diffusion or anything like that. It's just leaking in there. Your immune system goes, whoa, wait on. And then it tags that protein as a foreign invader. And once your immune system tags something, then it recognizes it more readily next time. So every time you're seeing that, your immune system is attacking it and going, this is a pathogen, this is something that's bad for me, I'm going to attack it. So what happens when your immune system attacks these invaders? It causes inflammation. Now, not only that, we've spoken about the gut lining. There's another pretty important lining in our body called the blood-brain barrier that also has tight junctions in it. So now we've got things in our bloodstream getting into our brain that aren't supposed to be there. So now we're looking at a society that's got more fatigue, more brain fog. We've got kids with increased levels of autism. We've got a whole society that's plagued with autoimmune problems. We've just spoken about chronic inflammation and immunity due to the fact that our tight junctions are getting broken down.
Depression.
I mean, with depression,
Alzheimer's, Parkinson's,
like you said earlier, that the bacteria in our gut is affected by glyphosate, which absolutely is. They reckon half of the microbes in our microbiome are affected by glyphosate, right? So 50%.
Yep.
But critically, 3 of the amino acids, which are obviously extremely important in human health, which are tryptophan, tyrosine, and phenylalanine, are the most affected because of the sorts of parts of your microbiome which are most affected by glyphosate, right?
Yep.
What does tryptophan do? Well, tryptophan becomes serotonin.
Yes.
Serotonin, we all know what that does.
A mood enhancer.
Depression, all that sort of stuff. And it's melatonin before it's serotonin.
Helps set sleep,
So sleep.
Yep.
So what is our society plagued with now? Well, sleep issues.
Yep.
Tyrosine involved in thyroid function. We've got a society now plagued with like under and overactive thyroids.
Yes.
We've also got effect with like dopamine and adrenaline production. So like, this is a pretty sinister little chemical.
Yeah.
Even if of all the things we speak about, it only does one of them, I'd be quite concerned about it. But we've got multiple scientific papers saying that it does probably many of these.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it sort of it makes other toxins and chemicals in our body more dangerous as the glyphosate reduces the liver's ability to detoxify them. That's one thing that I picked up. So not only is the glyphosate the enemy here, but it allows other chemicals and toxins to do their damage because the liver can't do its job to detoxify those chemicals.
Yeah,
I found that interesting, and also I think you might have mentioned this in another podcast, mate, a long time ago when we talked about supplementation. Glycine is disrupted or replaced by glyphosate during protein synthesis. So I'm not quite sure of the chemistry behind it all, but basically your glycine chemical, whatever that is replaced by glyphosate.
Yeah, so they say that glyphosate is like a glycine analog, so the molecules,
similar.
The part of the molecule it attaches is a similar structure. And so like when molecules attracted to each other or attach or whatever, and it's usually like the shape of that molecule, how it sort of goes together. So I've heard a lot of credible doctors say that they believe that one of the biggest areas that glycine is used in the formation of collagen.
Oh, yeah.
So collagen, every third amino acid is glycine.
Right.
So glycine, something, glycine, something. So it's got a huge amount of glycine in it. So there's a lot of concern that glyphosate is taking up these glycine spots. So if we fast forward to like when we're talking about doing some talk about supplementation for glyphosate exposure at the end of the thing, one of the things I say is take a lot of glycine.
Yeah, right.
You can essentially flush out all the glyphosate which has started to build up in your body.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That would be one supplement that I would be taking. Well, I do take on a regular basis.
I'm a huge fanboy of glycine.
Yeah. Well, it also, we talked about seed oils We talk about seed oils being sprayed with glyphosate,
Yep.
but glycine also helps reduce the inflammation from seed oils.
Yep.
So it's a wonder miracle.
Helps you sleep as
Wonder
well.
miracle.
It's a great sleep supplement.
Yeah.
Molecule. Yeah.
Yeah. Just as you talked
Sleep.
about before there, Smitty, that when we were growing up, we never knew kids that had a peanut allergy or a gluten allergy, whatever. Listening to that, Dr. Zach Bush, he mentioned that it's the third generation that always gets hit worse by this chemical or accumulation toxic buildup. So our kids at the moment we're seeing now, young children now coming through are the third generation. So we've had our parents or possibly even us, then our kids, or now the youngest generation coming through are the ones that are the third generation, probably even including my kids, to experience the massive build-up of this over 2 generations since really glyphosate came about in the 50s, 60s quite heavily. So I found that quite interesting. And you have a look at the new generation of kids and the incidence of autism. I think back in the 70s, it was 1 in 5,000. Now it's like 1 in every 30 of kids have autism. It's something like that, something crazy.
Yeah.
You're looking
and there
at
was something that we did at that time in the world that changed, right?
Yes, yeah. And there's been
when
also
was this introduced?
exactly at the same time, and also you're also looking at that link again, and just going off side topic here, the introduction of that really full on vaccination protocol, which also is injecting into your body adjuvants, and an adjuvant is like it can be an aluminium, it can be mercury, and these are substances that help the vaccine bind together or to form its product. And those adjuvants can have, not on everyone, can have detrimental effects on certain people. So the doctor I mentioned before, Dr. Seneff, she does mention that there can be a genetic predisposition for these conditions, but that is very minor compared to the environmental impact of things being added to our body, such as glyphosate, such as adjuvants from vaccines that can increase the manifestation of these conditions.
Yeah. It's like death by 1,000 cuts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you take all these separate things, like you've just mentioned, like adjuvants in vaccines and obviously glyphosate there, but they've obviously got that effect where they combine, and it's just, you know, even if you get away from one, you still got the other one in the background, and then you've got all these other things that we've spoken about.
Isn't it just so crazily unnatural, man? Like, you've just got this perfect human body made of cells, made of genes, the purest form of a living organism. And as soon as it's created, we're throwing metal products and artificial products into it. The more I study this, the more we look at researching these podcasts, man, the more I just think we are just so far away from our natural form. For what?
Don't you guys reckon, like, we are from nature, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's one periodic table of the elements. So we've got these atoms which make up our entire universe that we live in. We're not different to the earth we grew up in. We're not different to nature. We're from nature. We're natural beings, right? We're a natural organism. We've grown up on this earth in synchronicity with all these amazing, abundant species of plants, animals, bacteria, viruses, fungi, all this sort of stuff. But as a race, we are absolutely terrified of nature. We spend our whole time trying to control it and trying to kill it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking bacteria, fucking viruses.
Yep.
We've got to kill all this shit. It's going to kill us. We've got to kill it first so it doesn't kill us. We're at war with our own planet, trying to kill everything and trying to control it.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to work out ways to live with it.
Yeah.
We're obsessed with killing.
Yeah.
Because we're so fearful. We're so fearful of, you know, again, we're fearful of death.
And we're so keen to use science and chemicals to control certain aspects of our environment, including ourselves. You know, and sometimes we steer towards nature instead of science instead of nature. You know, I mean, have a look at. I mean, that's the human impacts of glyphosate. Let's have a look at impacts on the environment. So I was checking out, like, you know, because we are going to talk about regenerative farming.
What was
I
it?
think I have trouble saying that word. Regenerative farming. I have a bit of trouble saying that word.
Regen.
We're going to look at that. I think we're going to look at that next week, aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll be our next one.
So that this
Because this is a solution.
Yes.
Regenerative agriculture is a solution to probably what you're going to explain now. And a lot of, I mean, we talk about, in our last episode, we talked about carbon. Regenerative agriculture sequesters carbon from the environment, so it's bringing it into the soil anyway.
Yeah.
And the glyphosate is destroying that soil. So you go ahead. Sorry.
So much like our gut, soil has fungi, bacteria. It has carbon molecules in it. It's diverse with a whole flora of living organisms in the soil. Tilling, in the old days, the constant harvesting
of the soil,
of the soil, that had a negative impact on soil quality. Because over the years we were just degrading the quality of the soil and exposing it, and so soil was often never covered with vegetation. Then we come along and we add chemical agriculture to worsen this problem. So basically, we add glyphosate or pesticides
to fix the problem.
To fix the problem
that they'd created through tilling, and then they wanted to we fertilize. That didn't work. Too many weeds. Anyway.
Yeah. And that glyphosate is destroying all that good bacteria and all that good biodiversity in our soil, which is now producing it's poor quality soil, but now producing poor quality or nutrient, poor density of nutrition in our food that we're growing.
And then we've had to counteract that with fertilizers.
Yes.
Which is chemicals on top of more chemicals.
Exactly. And I did listen to a podcast with 2 English farmers, and that one's been in farming for 45 years. And he was saying that the problem today is now we're adding more chemicals to fix a chemical problem.
Yeah. Well, that we need a solution to fix what we've monocropped and we've sprayed with glyphosate and killed the microbiome of the soil to the detriment of the nutrient density of our food. That's not conspiracy. That's gone down, the nutrient density in our food. If you look at what an orange looked like 80 years ago, 90, 100 years ago to what it is now, the nutrients in that food has gone down, based on the fact that we keep monocropping most of our land, especially with wheat, and you don't change the diversity of the plants. We'll talk about plant diversity in regenerative ag, but
no animals.
No
animals play a big part
huge.
on cultivating and fertilizing soil.
Yeah. So, what's the issue? Okay, we keep putting grain in, and then we have to, we take the topsoil off. Then that blows away and it's exposed to the elements. The microbiome of the soil dies. The whole cycle of that, some people are saying, have left us with some parts of the US 2 generations left of soil to be able to grow things on, and then we're done. We need to come up with something that fixes that.
Well, this UK farmer was saying that since his dad bought the farm back in the 70s, they've lost 3 metres of soil.
3 meters?
3 metres, mate.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's incredible to think. Like, this is usable soil.
Yeah.
3 metres. And this is from 1977, I think he mentioned.
And it's obviously finite, isn't it? Like, I mean, soil is from the breakdown of organic products, which takes a long time. You can't just make soil out of nothing really quickly on a massive growth scale like that. Like, that's a big problem. Yeah, I guess we'll probably delve into this more in the regen one next week.
And I guess organic sort of farming comes into the regen farming as well, doesn't it? I mean, and let's look at choices that people can make to overcome this glyphosate issue.
Heaps of good options, really.
Yeah.
Organic produce, organic food from farmers market. We've talked about farmers markets before.
A lot, yeah. And there are even growing your own food.
Yeah, well, that's the grassroots one, isn't it? Grow some of your own food. Like, even if it's just some herbs and some basic stuff. If you've got like a small property, maybe get a little tomato bush, grow some basil, some parsley, some spring onions, whatever.
And this is something that I've realised. I've got a pretty big backyard. I've got a top level of grass, which is probably maybe 5 by 2 metres. It's, decent size level. And I just constantly mow it every week in the summer. And I'm thinking,
pump water into it.
What is it doing other than aesthetics?
Yeah.
And
at least it's grass. At least it's not.
At least it's not fake grass. But this has really prompted me, and I have been meaning to do it for a while, is to clear some area of my backyard to make to grow my own food.
Yeah.
I think just being prepared for food shortages is one reason, but also just for the health and the nutrient density of food that I'm eating. We get our food unfortunately, we get our groceries from a major supermarket.
And that's the reality of the world, isn't it?
We
probably can't all do it.
I guess I need to change my habits as well, as maybe take on the shopping and go to the local growers market like you do, Jonesy.
Come down and have a coffee with me, mate. You know, it'd be good.
It's a really nice
organic coffee.
Really nice way to spend a bit of time.
We hang out. We hang out Sunday mornings.
Chatting with some people who have the market stalls or whatever, often the primary producer.
Yep. It's nice to hear from the farmers.
Yeah,
you know, they talk about it, and they, if you show some interest, they get excited and they're talking about it, and you got this sort of It
also helps you to eat seasonal.
Yeah.
You're
not going to get like weird, wacky stuff that wouldn't have grown traditionally.
Exactly.
I think if you're putting a sticker on fruit, you shouldn't be buying it.
Yeah.
You know, like if you look at Coles, they sticker every piece of fruit.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Well, so obviously it's come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Shipped in from California or South American country. You know, like you say, it's not seasonal.
No.
We shouldn't be able to get grapes all year round.
And you taste a banana sometimes. Bananas have lost their flavour.
They're very, very bland, aren't they?
Yeah. You launch your mouth into something that's come from your backyard or a grower's market, and the taste sensation is, you realise then that you've been missing something.
Yeah.
From grocery mass product.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with anything. You look at eggs that are come from a, five hen per hectare farm as opposed to caged eggs. Yeah. It's completely different. The yolk's different. It's a different taste. It's same with grass-fed, grass-finished meat from a organic regenerative farm is completely different to the meat you get from feedlot.
For those people that are interested in their grocery shopping, I try to find out some foods that I mentioned before, the breads, the biscuits, crackers and cereals. But natural produce, so they're pretty made up foods, or like breads made from other ingredients. Natural products, it's very hard to find data in Australia on what foods or natural produce contain glyphosate. But the top 8 products in Australia with the most glyphosate was apples. The second was strawberries, then lettuce. There was spinach is up there, pears, peaches and nectarines. The 8 food types with the most glyphosate readings in it.
The Dirty Dozen, I think they're called, if you can look them up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We had it pinned to our fridge for years.
Yeah, we did too.
You know, if you can't afford to buy all organic because it's very expensive and everything's bloody expensive these days, I'd encourage people to look at that Dirty Dozen that CJ mentioned and at least be mindful of that.
Yep.
A lot of your berries, like your strawberries and that, get a really bad spray, don't they? But, you know, maybe if you weren't going to shell out on everything, perhaps just start with that Dirty Dozen and go, right, these are my highest exposure ones. So I'm going to shell for some organic apples, which aren't too expensive. Organic pears aren't too bad. We buy frozen organic strawberries, so they don't go to waste so much.
Yep.
My daughter really loves them. The other big one is food that's genetically modified has been genetically modified to be sprayed with glyphosate.
Yeah.
So if you're buying food that's non-GMO, it's going to have, as a rule of thumb, it's going to have lower levels of glyphosate.
Right.
Because plants don't like being sprayed with glyphosate because it destroys that shikimate pathway. So if you've got GMO corn, GMO legumes, things like that, the levels are going to be higher because they're 100% spraying it with glyphosate to keep weeds down.
Yeah, right.
So look for non-GMO.
Yeah.
Well, now we've got Bill Gates's GMO seed bank, so
yeah, love you, Bill.
Save
Thanks.
the day.
That's great because we can't feed the world apparently unless we spray everything with chemicals.
Yeah. So he's patented all those seeds that are now GMO and glyphosate resistant.
It seems like a really dirty game, that patenting of seeds and also this dependence now that farmers have on like chemical farming.
Yeah.
So the use of all these increasing levels of your pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. It seems like, from what I've heard and seen, once farmers get into this system of using this chemical system, they're not even allowed to harvest seeds off their crop for like the next year of growth, or they've engineered sometimes so they don't do it. So they're stuck every year. They have to buy these sort of patented, genetically modified seeds, which go along with a concert of chemicals to be used in conjunction with them in order to buy this crop. And so farmers' inputs are getting higher and higher. It's costing them more to farm because they're absolutely dependent on this system of farming now.
Yeah.
It's bloody,
Wow.
it's really like diabolical.
To change to a regenerative farm also takes time.
Yes.
And then they've got for a couple of years, possibly up to 5, they've got no yield. They've got no way of.
Yeah.
So they've got to, how do they diversify in that time? How do they make money in the 5 years it takes to get a regen farm up and running? And
I think that's building to a point now where there are support groups of farmers that are transitioning towards the regen farming, and I think they provide some sort of support network. I don't know whether that's financial. I don't really know too much about it, but there seems to be large sort of groups
that's
forming.
Awesome, yeah, cool.
To move in that direction.
So should we just finish off this one quickly before we finish up for the week and just quickly talk about supplements, maybe?
Yeah, definitely, man.
Because
you guys got thoughts about that?
It sounds a bit doom and gloom, doesn't it? Because it sort of sounds ubiquitous. It's everywhere. How do we avoid it? But one thing I did want to, before we go into supplements, there are home testing kits that you can get for glyphosate. I think they're about $70, maybe US.
Yeah, right.
I think they come from the US. You can test your levels of glyphosate in your body, and if they are really high, that's probably a good prompt to change your diet up, look at the dirty dozen, maybe get rid of some of these wheat products that we continually eat. And then, well, what does that look like? That looks like a paleo carnivore, maybe
funny about that.
Low carb, high fat, eating good quality sourced meat, going to farmers markets, which we've been talking about for years. And if your glyphosate levels are high, start moving in that direction, and then, supplement, so we can sort of supplement our way out of a glyphosate.
Because, you can't even really escape it in the meat that you eat, because the beef or the lamb that you're eating is eating grass that could be impacted by glyphosate spray.
Yep.
Well, hopefully you're getting those.
Or grain-fed.
Grain-fed.
Could be even worse.
Yeah. Sorry. So, I did have a name of a place, but anyway.
Was that for the testing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So is that a urine test?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do they call it?
The glyphosate urine test?
Something. They call it like a flow test or something.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Yep.
So the test is a urine test to test the glyphosate. It's not you're not testing the actual food.
No, you're testing yourself for your levels of primary holistic care, it's called, and it is a lateral flow dipstick.
Lateral flow dipstick, there you go.
Yeah. So Glypho check strips can be used to test water, whole oats, wheats, wine, urine. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
There you go. Anyway.
And what other what supplements
hit us with the
help us out?
The three that I love, one we already touched on, is the glycine. So it's supposed to be quite good. Interesting if you read the science behind glycine. If people have a high glyphosate burden and then they start supplementing with glycine, they initially see quite a high increase in their urinary output of glyphosate. So clearly it is having like a flushing effect.
Yeah, yep.
But after a while, if they continue with high levels of glycine supplementation, eventually that glyphosate output drops right off. So it does seem to be one that will flush it out of your system a little bit. So sort of helping to remove stuff that's had a cumulative effect and built up in your system over time.
Cool.
So I love glycine. Like glycine's good for collagen formation, also good for flushing out glyphosate, and really good sleep supplement. So I love it because it's extremely cheap as well. I think, do you guys buy it from Bulk Nutrients?
Yeah.
Buy that little 250-gram bag.
Yeah.
It's delicious. It tastes sweet.
It's really sweet.
It's really like you can use it as sugar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It tastes like sugar. I really look forward to my glycine at night. I have some in the morning, and then I also have some before bed.
Yeah.
And I look forward to it before bed. It's like a little treat.
Yeah.
I get like little half a glass of water.
Yep.
And I
Mix
put
it
my
in.
thing of glycine in. It's like drinking a little shot of sugar water.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
but-
it mixes really well. It's not like sort of
does.
creatine that
it's
doesn't mix too
not,
well
it's not-
just with
It's
water,
not
but
chalky. It's not bad tasting.
disappears. You go,
Beautiful. Like
boom.
you could sprinkle that on your bloody cereal. It'd be like sprinkling sugar.
Yeah.
And arguably
I don't
a lot
know
better.
because I often put it in a cup of tea or coffee, but I don't know whether the heat maybe damages it. So
Whether
I've
it
stopped doing
denatures
that
the
anymore.
protein,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just
I don't
put it
know.
in. I just put in the water because you're right.
So
It's
I
like
took,
sugar
I took a
water.
leaf out of your book, Jonesy. I got some of that beef liver powder,
Oh yeah.
and I have been having that at night as well because
Yeah.
that's quite high in B6 or B12 or something, which also helps sleep.
Yep.
But it tastes like shit. So
Does.
I've been mixing that up with my glycine, and the
yeah.
glycine adds a little bit of sweetness to it to take away that liver taste. You know,
Livery.
yeah, it's very
You can
livery.
get them in capsule form.
Yeah,
but they're a bit
I like
more
powder.
expensive.
I like
Oh, yeah.
powder forms better. I don't
Yeah.
like taking those little capsule things.
Yeah, the little veggie, whatever they
Yeah,
are.
I even crack mine open and pour my zinc
yeah.
or my
Do ya?
5-HTP open.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I crack them
Yeah.
open and pour the powder into the water.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
You're probably onto something there.
So we got glycine.
Yep. The
Yep.
other one I love, and again, Rue, you touched on it earlier, was you were talking about glutathione.
Yeah.
So I love NAC, which is a glutathione precursor.
Ah, okay.
So N-acetylcysteine.
Yep.
Got a lot of attention and came to prominence a bit through the whole COVID thing for the same reason. So obviously having high glutathione levels is valuable for health in general. So a lot of wellness people were sort of recommending NAC, but I don't know if it's true or not, but I've read that like actual glutathione has quite a short half-life. So it's better to take the precursor in NAC and then your body will naturally produce more glutathione.
Okay.
And that's one that's probably not a daily one, right? NAC?
I'd probably cycle it. I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of cycling most things.
Yeah.
I probably don't agree with cycling glycine, but that'd be one of the very few that I wouldn't cycle.
Yeah.
But I would cycle on and off
Yeah.
for the NAC.
Is NAC expensive, mate?
It's not too bad. I get that also from Bulk Nutrients.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of places you can get it from, but I like supporting them. They're a Tasmanian company.
Yep.
And their supplements are generally pretty cheap. It's just 100% pharmaceutical grade N-acetylcysteine.
Yep.
Just comes in a capsule, which I think is 100 milligrams a cap from memory.
Get a sponsorship.
And
Get them on. Get them on the
better
podcast.
in
I
the
reckon the three of us would have put quite a bit of money through
Oh, yeah.
Bulk Nutrients.
Oh, yeah.
Been using them for many, many years.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
always really happy with them. Their shipping's really
Yeah,
fast.
and they're
Yeah,
really
they're
good
cool.
too. They flick you some emails with just like content, like information, and they're really
absolutely.
quite informative.
They talk about like amino acids and
yeah,
I saw on the other day like branched chain amino acids versus essential amino acids,
Yeah,
which I was quite interested in reading about because it's a interesting hotbed of discussion
yeah.
over the last couple of years.
And so with the NAC, mate, any certain type of day to eat to have that morning or night?
No, I generally have mine in the evening.
Yep.
I don't think it's super critical.
Mm-hmm.
The last one, which I love, and we'll probably talk about this fella next week in our podcast about regenerative ag. So the doctor, scientist, sort of thought leader guy, Zach Bush, came up with his own product called, well, it used to be called Restore. I think it's now called Ion Biome.
All right.
Ion Biome. Bit like your regenerative.
What a mouthful.
I think it's Ion Biome, but it used to be called Restore, and I still know it as Restore.
Yep.
It's essentially a liquid. Have you guys come across that at all? Have you
No.
ever-
The old Zach Bush one.
the old Zach Bush one, Restore, yeah. So we still use it. It's essentially like water, and it's got these little particles in it, carbon-based particles called pterohydrites. And essentially that microscopy I was talking about before, where they show the tight junctions in your gut getting destroyed by glyphosate, with the addition of these pterohydrites, so it's like a little liquid that you drink, actually repair those tight junctions again.
Right.
So if you do have high glyphosate exposure and you're worried about leaky gut, leaky brain, then there's some science to support the fact that this Restore can actually help those tight junctions reintegrate and do their job again.
Yeah. Right.
So it's quite an expensive supplement. I think it comes from the US. It's about $100 a bottle.
Yep.
But you only take a very little bit. So it can last quite a while. So we've had our daughter on it essentially since she was almost born.
Yep. So I wonder whether that help resolve leaky gut conditions?
Well, that's sort of their claim,
Yeah.
more or less. Like
Because if a person goes to a doctor with leaky gut, what does a doctor, like a mainstream doctor, what do they generally
probably tell you to
prescribe?
fuck off.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
wouldn't.
I went to a doctor probably 7 or 8 years ago talking about microbiome and leaky gut, and they basically called me a crackpot and kicked me out.
Wow, that doesn't surprise me.
When my wife went to have her last scan before we had our baby, and we were having our little girl at home, so they were hating us anyway because they saw us as dirty hippies because my wife wanted to birth at home with midwives and all the medical equipment and stuff, so not too fringe. We were talking a bit about what happened. Something came up and my wife said something about microbiome, and then heard the consultant doctor, like the head of the whole department, saying, I don't know what a microbiome is and I don't want to know. I thought, fuck me, that's a fucking...
Wow.
You know, an obstetrician, knowing that like microbial transplant from mother to baby is so important when they're born.
Yeah.
So I think there'd be some really good doctors out there who would be really across it, and I think there would still be a lot to be like, I hate you, you're a hippie, get out. Yeah.
Particularly when a lot of the things they prescribe would actually do the reverse to our microbiome.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like your antibiotics and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, so I reckon those 3 supplements are really good for it. The first 2 are pretty cheap.
Yep. Where do you source the third one?
So you can, I think you can still get it through iHerb. We can get it directly through Zach Bush's website. I usually wait for a special and then try and get a few at a time. We often buy like 6 bottles at a time. It'll just come in a thing. I just go to the cheapest source because I'm always trying to.
What's the new name of it?
I think it's Ion Biome.
Ion Biome. I'll check that out.
Yeah, I rate it. It just looks like dirty water.
Yep.
You have like a little teaspoon of it. Just drink it. Tastes like nothing.
Yeah.
Just tastes like water with a bit of brown stuff in it.
Yep.
Maybe there's something in it. Maybe there's
Tastes
not.
like water with a bit of brown stuff in it.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I must say, Smitty, whatever you are doing with your body, you do look very well, mate.
Oh,
your
thanks, mate.
skin looks really good.
Must be all that glycine.
Yeah. Your skin looks great, and your face looks like really fresh. Like I'm not trying to crack onto you or anything.
This is taking a weird turn.
Yeah.
Let's go to commercial.
Let's end this here. Let's get the guitars out.
Jonesy, can you just
Get
leave
your
us
guitars
in the room
ready.
for a moment? But you do look really well, mate. That's what I'm trying to get at. You
cheers,
look
mate.
you look well. And you know, wellness obviously from the inside exudes itself outside. So whatever you're doing, mate, is working.
Yeah, mate. I'm just looking up this restore slash.
He doesn't like
I think,
taking compliments too well, does he? See him change the subject there?
I think it's just
He's
called.
not even looking at you. He's
I think
just
it's-
at his
Nah,
He's
I
got very nervous. And look, I think he's
I
even
can't-
blushing.
I can't make eye contact.
Yeah.
It's gone a bit weird. I think it's just called Ion now, perhaps.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Zach Bush.
I love Zach Bush. I also like
Yeah, he's
supporting
good.
him because I think he does great work, and I think his name's going to come up next week when we speak about regenerative ag. And he's one of those guys that's out there. He's not just talking about shit; he's doing shit.
Yeah.
So
What did he call it? that product?
It used to be called Restore back in the
Restore. Yeah, right.
day. Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
All
So
right.
anyway,
good
that was
stuff.
Glyphosate, man.
an interesting chat.
Yeah.
And it's
Next
not all
time
doom
you-
and gloom.
Not all
No,
doom
but
and
next time
gloom,
you're
but-
driving down the road and you see the little sign on the side there, glyphosate spraying, just close your windows and shut your air vents.
Well, it does say avoid the area, so that must give you some indication that it's not real
Yeah.
good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do they put it up there and then say, oh, yeah, no, you can drink it? But avoid this area when there's
Yeah.
glyphosate
Yeah.
around.
I don't know.
Also, there's like local activism. Like I know there's been a lot of success, particularly in the States, with people going in with the vast amount of scientific research to suggest that it's not safe. And they've actually hit up local councils and made them change their ways.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know if that Sterling Council that you spoke about, if they've been presented with some like compelling evidence
Right, yeah.
to say this is bad.
Yeah.
But like I think from an activism level, if you were willing to go to a local council meeting or write a letter or call someone, and enough people did it, I'm sure that you could change it at a local level where we're not at least spraying it around schools, playgrounds, sports fields,
Yeah.
things where it's going to accumulate and our kids are going to be rolling in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good call.
Great
I reckon.
idea. Good stuff.
Activism, man.
Few solutions
Local
today.
community activism.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's how we get things done.
Yep.
I love it. Work, lads.
Good to see you, boys.
Yeah. See you
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah.
Cheers, lads.
Well, I'll see you next week. Get your air guitars at the ready.